I'm Phoenix Wright, and I'm the lawyer who will never make another innuendo again. Hold it! Really, Chief Gant? At the very least, there is one very large benefit you've reaped from all this.
Oh? Wasn't aware. What is this benefit?
That would, of course, be the position you have. Chief of Police.
Only gets better from here.
You said that, and then immediately.
I know.
The game was like, we're gonna make this very difficult for you.
Yeah.
Oh.
The resolution of the SL9 incident secured your promotion to Chief. That in itself is sufficient motive.
Oh.
You out of breath there, sir?
Good one.
Ah, the theme. Huh?
Do you really think I'm that incompetent?
What do you mean?
Even without that case, I was already in line to become the next chief. The resolution of SL9 merely sped up the inevitable. A little.
Is that true, Edgeworth? Yes. He was going to be made chief anyway. Gah!
Be careful when pointing that finger, or you might wind up being the one pointed at.
Whenever you point, there's 3 fingers pointing right back at you.
I knew that was coming. I was just waiting.
So that means there's only one possible motivation for you to commit forgery. If you didn't do it for yourself, then you did it for someone else.
Don't be silly, Worthy. You know me better than that. There are only 3 people I look out for. Me, myself, and I. Honest. There. It's out in the open now. Udgy, would you mind if I changed my testimony a little?
By all means, please do.
What
God.
happened to perjury again?
It's gone.
I wouldn't be anyone's accomplice if there was nothing in it for me.
Hold it! Nothing in it for you?
Cash, buddy.
Sorry, but the only person I care about is yours truly. That girl, Lana's little sister, was it? You think I felt sorry for her? You better think again. Yikes.
You're right. You don't feel sorry for anyone.
No, I'm right.
Shut up.
Be tough on crime and tough on people. That's how I was raised.
You seem to be lax enough on yourself, though.
Oh, now that's a good one, Worthy.
Could there have been something in it for him? Given his selfishness, would he have helped someone out? Lads?
I
I guess
guess
it seemed like
if
he
he
was
could
helping
keep
out.
blackmailing Lana, he could get a lot of sentences that theoretically went the way he wanted.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Lana helped him dispose of.
But then is it accomplice or blackmail?
I mean,
Maybe it's like he would have helped somebody in order to be able to blackmail them.
yeah. I mean, I think, like, there also might be, like, talking about accomplice in, like, the, you know, legal definition, you know? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I would say yes, because that's how we sort of, like, connect it back to Lana.
So point out accomplice?
Sure.
True, you might not help out anyone for their sake. But if it would benefit you, you might decide to assist someone.
It appears you're positively determined to portray the chief as a nice man who likes to lend people a hand. Or $20 if they ask.
50,
or was it 50?
50, yeah. That's
Sorry.
not what I mean.
Resistant.
Thank you.
Very well, then. Who is this person you believe Chief Gant may have helped forge evidence?
Mike Meekin. Damon Gant.
I mean, Lana, right?
Yeah,
I guess
feel like it's
technically
Lana.
Emma was the one who was accused, but like she was
Yeah, but she didn't really do
he
anything
said
with
that
the
he
case.
didn't.
She didn't even know she murdered someone.
Alright.
Take that!
Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye. The defendant?
I believe it's quite obvious, in light of the circumstances. Emma Skye fell victim to an unfortunate series of events. Who would want to help her more than her own sister, Lana? And as for Chief Gant, he would also have a reason to help Lana if she asked him to. That reason, of course, is self-profit.
Self-profit? What do you mean?
After the SL9 incident was resolved, Lana Skye was appointed chief prosecutor at the prosecutor's office. The person who arranged this job change was you, Chief Gant.
But how would he profit from all of this?
He would be able to use the chief prosecutor as his puppet. Essentially, he would acquire unchecked authority over all investigations.
Do you mean to tell me that despite the chief's formidable appearance, he plays with puppets?
That's what you got from that?
Dead silence!
The judge astounds me on multiple occasions.
Oh, wait. You must mean puppet as in someone forced to do his bidding. Never mind.
Admit it, Chief. You assisted Lana Skye in forging evidence. Your motive, to appoint her as chief prosecutor so you could control her.
Righto, my boy. You have quite an imagination. Let me ask you something.
What?
Do you have any proof of this? That I controlled Lana?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just realized something. How are his glasses on his face?
They're like
Glue.
those old-fashioned ones that
okay,
clip onto
yeah.
your nose.
Okay, never mind.
No, they're super glued to his nose.
Okay. I got
This man is full of mysteriously attached clothing items. Is Lana testifying that I've done such a thing?
Lana... She's keeping quiet to protect Emma. There's no way she'd testify against Gant.
I'm afraid without any proof, this all amounts to nothing more than mere conjecture.
Unless... That is also what happened in this incident.
This incident? Which one would that be?
Of course, I'm talking about the murder of Detective Bruce Goodman. The chief prosecutor has been acting strange throughout this entire trial. Strangely. Almost as if someone has been controlling her.
Worthy. You'd better watch your tongue. We're about to get his breakdown sprite. I wouldn't want you to get hurt.
Jesus Christ.
Just what do you mean?
What he means, Your Honor, is that Chief Gant is involved in the murder of Detective Goodman. Not only that, but the chief is now making Lana take the rap to cover up his involvement.
What? What?
Waluigi?
Sorry, remember when you were like, is there any judge screaming?
It's okay, I'll just, like, stage scream it, like, whisper scream. Not stage scream, that's an actual scream. Order! 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 I said order!
I love that he's screaming more than he ever has right after you were like, I hope he doesn't scream.
Yeah, me, like, oh, my family's probably trying to sleep, I probably shouldn't scream. Mr. Wright, you can't be serious.
Huh?
This is an affront to the highest-ranking officer in our law enforcement agency. To accuse the chief of police of blackmail and murder? 3 exclamation points and a question mark? That's impossible!
Inconceivable.
Wow, the judge sure is screaming a lot. Your Honor, I was merely reiterating what Mr. Edgeworth said in easier-to-understand language. It's too late, Mr. Wright. There's no turning back for us now. It looks like he's the one who's decided to go through with this.
Can you prove this, Mr. Wright? That the chief, a high-ranking officer of the law, is involved in this murder?
Good question.
Oh.
Regardless of his rank or title, Chief Gant is just a man.
Behold.
The question is he a criminal? I believe the evidence will tell.
The question is he a Muppet of a man?
I see. Let's see what Mr. Wright's got. And it better be good. Show us the evidence that ties Chief Gant to the murder of Detective Goodman.
Lads?
Blue Badger.
What
Dun, 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 dun.
is it something with his ID?
I was gonna say, is it the ID
Yeah.
list?
Take
Yeah.
that!
This is the ID card list.
Yes, the one that shows who entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. There was one ID on the list we couldn't determine the owner of yesterday. 7777777. I'm not done saying it.
Sorry, but there's no way you can prove that's my card.
It's your number.
How anticlimactic.
God.
Got him.
What? How do you know that?
The safe in Chief Gant's office requires a code to open. A 7-digit code.
Oh.
7 digits. You don't mean...
I'm afraid so, Your Honor. The code was 7777777. The same as the remaining ID card number on that list. Chief Gant, you entered the evidence room on the day of the crime.
Who would ever make this
Finally.
Ooh, that sprite.
that
Ooh,
though? Like,
ooh.
what is wrong with
Order!
Yes.
Order! Chief Gant, what do you have to say?
Nothing.
Look at his eyebrow twitch.
I am doing the eyebrow. The defense's search of my office was in violation of regulations.
And I will demand Mr. Wright be punished to the maximum extent of the law.
Jesus.
But right now, this court demands an explanation from you about the use of this ID card.
Chief Gant, so you admit it? You entered the evidence room? On the day of the crime?
What about it? I'm chief of police. Whether it's the evidence room or the bathroom. What's the difference?
Oh.
I can go anywhere I want.
Tell me,
Sir?
when you entered the room, were you alone?
I always go to the bathroom alone, as I do with the evidence room.
Detective Goodman wouldn't have happened to be with you that day, would he?
Of course not. Why would he be? I haven't seen him in days.
Objection! You hadn't seen him in days. Chief Gant. I'm afraid you've just undone yourself. On that day, you had to have met with Detective Goodman.
What do you mean? Why are there so many exclamation points? This trial's purpose is to determine Lana Sky's guilt.
Objection! No, it isn't, Your Honor. This trial's purpose is to determine the truth. If Chief Gant met the victim on the day of the crime, then we need to determine one thing. What transpired during that meeting?
In that case, Mr. Wright, I'm going to have to ask you for evidence. Show us the proof that the victim went to meet Chief Gant on the day of the crime.
The testing fluid, the ID card, fingerprinting set, the screwdriver, Goodman's lost item report that can only be submitted to the Chief of Police.
The Chief of Police! That's what I was wondering, okay.
Yeah,
See,
that
for
was
some reason, I thought that the report was like, gumshoes. 'Cause I forgot. Okay. I mean, that seems like the most solid evidence.
Yeah.
Take that! Detective Goodman lost his ID card on the day of the crime. Or to be more accurate, Jake Marshall stole it. So, Detective Goodman filled out a lost item report. He would have had to give that report to the Chief of Police.
Yet you are in possession of the report,
Shit.
which means you can't be sure if he filed it.
Mm-mm. He filed it. How do I know, you ask? Because he needed to enter the evidence room that day.
He needed to?
Yes, to transfer the evidence out.
Oh.
Detective Goodman took the form to you, Chief Gant. Then, you accompanied the detective to the evidence room.
Accompanied him?
Mm-hmm. There's no other way that a murderer and Detective Goodman could have entered the room. Oh, shit.
Hold on. Let me guess what you're going to say next. The Chief of Police murdered poor Goodman.
He said it. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But wait! The chief didn't necessarily need to accompany him to the evidence room. He could have just lent him his ID card.
Yes. Now that you mention it, I believe I might have done something of the sort.
Objection! Sorry, but that's not possible.
Huh?
According to the record, your card was only used once, yet you showed us your ID card earlier. If you had really lent it to Detective Goodman, it would have been found on his body.
Oh my god! Chief Gant!
I've been there for longer, holy shit!
You didn't!
The murder was most likely a spur-of-the-moment crime, for no one in their right mind would choose the police department as a place to commit murder. After the murder, you contacted Lana at the prosecutor's office. Why? To dispose of Detective Goodman's body, of course. Objection! You're forgetting, Mr. Wright, that the victim's body was discovered in the prosecutor's office parking lot. How did he manage to move it there?
I was at the police department the entire day, you know?
And everyone's aware that Lana stayed at the prosecutor's office after the ceremony. Everyone except me, it seems. Still, you're the chief of police. You have an entire police force at your disposal.
Oh, so you think I just ordered an officer to do it? Hey, you! Take this here dead body over to the prosecutor's office. I don't think so.
Chief Gant, you left all the evidence we need to prove how you moved the body to the prosecutor's office. And all this time I thought it was a useless clue just taking up space.
Oh?
How could the chief have moved the body? Mr. Wright, show us this evidence.
To move the victim's body, Chief Gant used this.
The blue badger is on wheels, right?
Yes.
Holy shit!
I'm just saying.
I was gonna say, didn't Edgeworth drive from the police department to the prosecutor's office?
Yes, in the Blue Badger.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know what we would present to be like Edgeworth just drove the body, but...
Well, I think maybe it's he loaded it onto the blue badger, rolled it out to
Don't.
the car, and then put it in the
Okay.
car.
I accidentally clicked on it. I was like,
I
well,
did not think it was the blue badger.
I know what it is, so I'm not gonna say
I don't
anything.
remember what it is.
Could be the blue.
Alright, fine.
I mean, like, what would we present? Like, the photo of him in the car?
No, it's probably something else.
Oh, right, a useless piece of evidence. What did we not use? What about that screwdriver?
Brought back to his office by Gant's request.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, sorry. What in the world that would have to do with it? Like,
Well, it's probably like it would force Edgeworth to bring it to,
right.
yeah.
Yep.
He
Good point.
he wrapped up work for the day, and then Gant told him to take this back to the office.
Yeah, that would,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So, probably this.
Take that!
I'm upset it's not the blue badger.
This is how he moved Detective Goodman's body. He sort of heaved it onto the Blue Badger, and then he rolled it out the front door.
Concealing it in between himself and the blue badger.
What's that? A screwdriver? But what does this have to do with this case?
He used it to tighten the wheels on the Blue Badger. Mr. Edgeworth, think back to the day of the crime. What is this screwdriver doing here? It's here because... Ah! I was asked to go, by Chief Gant, no less. He told me he wanted me to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here. This is just like a sequential, like, flashback that Edgeworth is having while screaming in court. After the ceremony ended that day, I didn't plan to return to the prosecutor's office. But you did, because Chief Gant asked you to. You mean The body was found in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. I think it's obvious what happened. The body was moved by that car. Oh shit, he was just driving around with a dead body.
Detective Goodman's body was carried in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car.
Yes. Unless, of course, you have another explanation, Chief? Why else would you have asked Mr. Edgeworth to transport evidence from a closed case? There's only one plausible explanation. To transport the body to your accomplice, Ms. Lana Skye. Oh shit, he's really unraveling it.
Order! 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 What's going on here? Is there no room for rebuttal to the defense's outrageous accusations?
Who's gonna rebut me, Edgeworth? Think back to the photograph Ms. Starr took at the prosecutor's office. This was not a photo of the body being stuffed in the trunk to be taken away. It was exactly the opposite. It is a photo of the body being taken from the trunk.
Chief Gant, please say something.
Please do that beautiful electric sprite again.
This is an unnecessarily long pause this time.
I believe your time's up.